Good afternoon. I think this was a pretty exciting morning. I really enjoyed the speakers, their vision, how they approach industrialized construction. Three things so far stood out for me. I think a more holistic way of thinking about industrialized construction. We saw that pretty much from every speaker. What in some ways I think should be obvious, but sometimes gets lost in the heat of a project. The focus on, the people that living there, or the students. I mean, the people that actually use what we make, and I heard that much more today than we've heard before, and also the focus on the people that actually have to put something physically together. As I think one of the, what was it, Aaron or Josh mentioned, unless you build it, you just spent a bunch of time thinking, and where are you going to get the money back for that? So that was were some of the highlights for me. So I just wanted to also catch up my colleague Hao from the Stanford Business School. So Hao Lee is one of the I think foremost experts globally in supply chain management, and I think that was sort of mentioned a bit, but it's also quite clear, right? The idea of a sort of OEM type ecosystem that is being created, whether that's in a quite distributed way as we saw, or in a more vertically integrated way. But in any case, you have to figure out the supply chain, how to organize all of the things we need to put together, and and over the life cycle. And so recognizing that as one of the fundamentally important parts of a project and product approach that we have to figure out. I thought it would be great, or we thought it would be great, to hear from somebody that focuses on supply chain management broadly, not just in construction, who brings us insights and lessons from supply chain management globally. And so thank you so much, Hao, for joining us. Looking forward to your thoughts and experiences and their vision, what you see people really paying attention to, and why, and where do you see things going?
Thank you. Well, thank you, Martin, for the introduction. It's my pleasure to be able to share with you this afternoon. I taught 2 executive sessions this morning at the business school, and so if you feel that I don't have enough energy, it's because I have taught 2 sessions already. Okay. This is the low energy session. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I want to make sure that people in the back are paying attention. Okay, good. Yeah. Well, my first apology is that I was doing the final finishing touches of my presentation when I was in Saudi Arabia a few weeks ago, and it turns out that I got the date wrong. Okay. So because I was looking at the Saudi calendar, which is the wrong date. So sorry, apologize. Yeah. So I am not a construction expert. Obviously, I know very little about construction, and I look at supply chain broadly. So I hope that the insights that I share about how companies are managing the whole overall supply chain can have some usefulness in the construction arena. I think I would need you to interpret, you to internalize, and to make sure that some of the lessons are applicable. And I just give you bigger ideas to try to stimulate your thoughts, okay? So for the last 3 years, I have been serving on the advisory board for the Biden administration on how to develop the US supply chain competitiveness. And I have 1 more year, and I thought that I would be out of that job. Okay, it was pro bono anyway, there is no pay. But the Trump administration has asked us to continue. So, but don't ask me why the tariffs are there. I have nothing to do. But I think I wanted to share with you, later on, more about the insights about how geopolitical forces affect the way you have to run your supply chain. 20 years ago, in 2004, I published an article in the Harvard Business Review called the AAA Supply Chain. And that article was well received, and I have lots of citations and lots of people talking about supply chain AAA. It's called the AAA supply chain. So at that time, I said that companies, when you run a supply chain, must be good with 3 things, AAA. And the AAA stands for agility, adaptability, and alignment. So agility, as natural construction industry people need agility. Adaptability means that you have to adapt potentially the configuration of the supply chain, where you want to source. Everyone wants to leave China now, potentially. Or the business model that you have. The business model that you have, the design of the product. So reconfiguration is about adaptation. And alignment is more about how to work with your partners. You need partners to work with you, and how do you align the interests and the incentives of your partners? So this was written 20 years ago. And I want to share with you 20 years later, okay, what would be the different type of agility, adaptability, and alignment for today's world. We are living in a very different world from 20 years ago. First, agility. So agility means you have to be fast in sensing what's going on and then respond. So this is something that IBM and SAP consultants has been calling sense and respond. So in the construction industry, I also want to think, okay, what does sense and respond mean? Sensing could mean more than just demand. Sensing could mean that what kind of materials are potentially in shortage, what type of new materials are emerging, and what kind of demand pattern, the pattern that people like, and so on. And then you respond is execution. Execution is so important. One of the best examples of agility that some of you may know, and I know that one of you came from Spain, okay, is which part of Spain?
Juan Carlos.
Oh, yes, great. Okay, well, it's hard to pronounce, sorry, yeah. But which part of Spain are you from?
Madrid.
Madrid, okay, good. So Madrid was Zara. Zara was headquartered in La Coruña. So, but Madrid is usually the first place that we would go to. So Zara, which is part of Inditex, the parent company, is considered to be one of the fast fashion company. Fast fashion because they were able to introduce new products fast, and they introduced lots of products. So it's both a combination of variety and speed. Yeah, so this is kind of the fast fashion industry. And that's sense and respond very fast. Another example of agile company is I use the example of a Chinese-based company, JD.com. Now, how were they so fast? It is exactly during COVID-19, when there were severe lockdowns everywhere, they were able to organize themselves to see where can they get the supplies for the different kinds of products, and how can they deliver the products using their trucks and so on. It's super agile. And that agility enabled them to support the severe needs, the medical needs, hospital needs of the region. So those are fast and respond, and so that's agility. Traditional agility means fast, means variety. Yeah. Second, adaptability, the old way of adaptation. Adaptation, in the past, most people thought of adaptation is to respond to, adapt your model when you have disruptions. For instance, these days, we all talk about we need to adapt our model because of the focus of domestic supply chain. Biden already started. Trump started too. Now I think President Trump is going to double down on doing more domestic supply chain. Domestic supply chain is impossible for many industries, for most industries. But that's still a wish list for the White House and current White House. A better one is regionalization, regional supply chain. Although regional supply chain also is being disrupted, because supposedly regional supply chain means that we should be allied with Canada, we should be allied with Mexico. And President Trump said, no, I don't care. Yeah, so when I was working for the Department of Commerce secretary, Gina Raimondi, in the last administration, she used the term friend shoring. So friend shoring is that there are many shoring. The consultants are very good in creating terms. Yeah, there's offshoring, outshoring, inshoring, reshoring, okay, yeah. And then there is now friend-shoring. But friend-shoring means that we should work together as a regional supply chain together with Mexico, with Canada. But now, everything seems to be off, yeah, up to the negotiation table, regional supply chain. But regional supply chain makes more sense to me than domestic supply chain, because the US does not have the capability to produce many of the materials, and if we force ourselves to do it, it actually causes more harm than before. There is also adaptation, saying that, well, the construction industry people like just-in-time too. Yeah, everyone likes just-in-time. Toyota wants just-in-time. But now they say just-in-time is risky because you are too lean, you are vulnerable to disruptions, so we should do just-in-case. Just-in-case is a very nice term, but I don't know what it means, actually. It's like, well, you should move from just-in-time to just-in-case. Yeah. Just in case of anything happen, you have a solution. Wow, that means that you have to have a lot of redundancies. You have a lot of inventory. You have a lot of capacity, extra capacity. Yeah, so if you are in the construction industry and you say, I can do just in case, I think you have get more warehouses. So I don't think, McKinsey has a very interesting report that says that I think the best way is to do just-in-time plus. What is just-in-time plus? Just-in-time plus just in case. Great recommendation. Great recommendation. What should I do? Oh, you should do both. Never wrong. Yeah. Should I go to China or should I not go to China? Well, you should go to China and not go to China. So I think this is very dangerous. But it turns out that if you read the report, they are saying that, well, you should have a right combination. It's a right combination. Don't just use one versus the other. You have to have the right mix. For some products, maybe just in time should be, and some product you do just in case. So in the complex manufacturing world of construction industries, I think you all should do just in time, plus just in case. Yeah. So McKinsey was actually turns out to be right. So that is adaptation. Traditionally, we also have alignment. Alignment is mostly with your partnerships. Can we have a mutually beneficial partnership to work together? So COVID-19 taught us something, that we have to treat the suppliers well. Okay. And in the apparel industry, it's terrible. The apparel industry start cutting orders, start delaying payment terms, making it very difficult for the apparel factories. Many of them, like in Bangladesh, Pakistan, and they have to close down. When they close down, they have to lay off their people. When they lay off the workers, the families are hurt. So we have to figure out the way to say, hey, what is our responsibility? And this article that says that fashion brands that have been treating their suppliers with aligned, meaning that mutual interest, would be able to come back better when the business come back well. So our suppliers, your suppliers, what is the relationship that you have with them? Is it more mutually beneficial, or is it just I do whatever and you do whatever? Yeah. I remember one time I was at Walmart, and in front of the executives, I gave a talk about incentive alignment. And I said that we should do win-win, it's better. But in my slide, I capitalized the first word of the sentence. This is what we do, right, in English. You capitalize the first letter of the sentence. So when I say win-win, it's big W and then small w. So I capitalize the W. And one of the executives at Walmart said, yeah, that's good, that's good. At Walmart, we like the big win. And you guys all have the small win. Yeah. So I learned my lesson is that it's very important when I do win-win anymore, I don't capitalize. Or at least you capitalize both words, yeah. So make sure that it's equitable, make sure it's fair. I don't know about our construction industries, but in the auto industry, there's something called Working Relations Index. Working Relations Index, what is the Working Relations Index? The industry association tracks how the brand treats suppliers. And what does it mean, treating supplier? It means how much communication is going on. What is the payment term? Do you cancel order easily? Do you change your mind easily overnight, or having the supplier to eat the cost of your change? And so how did you treat them? And they have multiple dimensions that they track. And it turns out, as you can see, that some companies are better and some companies are not as well. So Toyota happens to be the number one, much better. And the industry week says that after COVID-19, when the industry roaring back, Every auto company is fighting for materials. And guess who gets priority of those materials? It's the company that has treated the suppliers well. Naturally, if you have treated me well, I give you priority well. So that's alignment. I think alignment is building strong working relationship. So that's what I wrote about 20 years ago that's still applicable. But now I want to talk about the new AAA. The new AAA, which I have rarely talked about, but in front of this group, I want to share my thoughts on the new AAA. What is the new AAA? The new agility means that I use agility not to quickly respond to demand, but to generate demand. Now, this is very interesting. My ability is to induce you, the customer, to buy something that they did not even know they need. Okay, yeah. So what does it mean? It means that if I know that you like in construction, let's say that you need to build a house, I gather information, I sense your need, I sense the requirements, I sense the local regulations, and I sense material supply, and I quickly build it very fast. That's agility. But the other way to look at that is that you did not even know that you actually wanted something like that. And my ability to design something that you have never seen may induce you to say, hey, yeah, maybe it's good for me to get a new house. So this is really generate demand. Agility is used to generate demand. That's a new way of thinking about agility. So agility has multi-stages, multi-levels. First, there's fast agility. Then we have super fast agility. And what is the bigger one is ultra fast. Ultra fast, yeah. Can your company be ultra fast, agile? Yes. So it turns out apparel company, fast fashion. Fast fashion is Zara. Fast fashion is H&M. But today, ultra fast is happening. Ultra fast is what the Atlantic magazine says that there is a group of companies that out-Zara Zara. Okay, and they are super fast, ultra fast. What are those companies? Shein, Temu, and also Amazon has created a competitor to Shein and Temu. And I don't know whether you know Amazon's competitor name. The name is like my name. How? H-A-U-L. That's my company. No. H-A-U-L, isn't it? Yeah, Hao Li, right? H-A-U, and then L. Okay, yeah, that's Amazon. They're competing at the ultra-fast level. So Shein, how many of you are Shein customers? Well, none of you, so only one or two, yeah. Because most of, you buy from Shein? For yourself? Oh, for girlfriend. Okay, because Shein mostly is focusing on women. So that's why I was surprised that you bought. You are a customer, but not a consumer. So that type of company, you think about Shein. Shein is known as the TikTok of e-commerce. Fascinating company. I studied Shein. The company, at one time, in 2022, was valued by the private equity firm of $100 billion. $100 billion is larger than the sum of Zara and H&M. Ridiculous, I think, yeah. And now since then, they have come down to $60 billion. The company is trying to go public in the UK because the US has blocked them. They could not. But it's an amazing company. What is the secret of company of this ultra agility? And I summarize it into a simple picture. This is so-called the flywheel. This company manages the front end very well, and they manage the back end very well. Front end means you constantly try to use social media and also apply AI to try to analyze what are the customers talking about, what are the key opinion leaders talking about, what are the trends, what are and what do companies buzz, and use that to either connect with more new customers or use that to feed the design. And the back end is design. And the design is mostly done by AI. So they're not human designers, very few. And the AI design, meaning that the AI would take into account of the design features and inputs, come up with a product, and then making sure that the product is manufacturable, have the right material, and then they use information system to manage the supply side, the manufacturers. And there are a lot of factories that focus on small batch manufacturing, and they tightly monitor, almost like a project, construction project monitor, what is the progress? How many shirts have you made? How many dresses? What kind of materials are there? When are you shipping? Everything controlled very tightly. So this is a company that most people thought is an apparel company. To me, this is an information company. This is a company that makes the best use of information to build. And by doing so, they could generate design very, very well. The Economist says that Zara introduced 10,000. I thought it's 24,000, but Economist has a lower estimate. They say they introduced 10,000 new products a year. And Shein introduced 6,000 a day. So that is a magnitude difference. And many of them are small variations. As you know, how can you have so many different designs? Some of them may be higher collar, smaller collar, the buttons in the front, buttons in the back. So there are a lot of variations. But what they are doing is to generate a lot of designs and show it to the customers. And see, you may never have thought about this type of product. Now you've seen it, you say, hey, maybe I should buy it. So this is trying to draw out the latent demand of the customers. And they're very good in doing so. Some of the product they have not manufactured. So if you like it, then I'll manufacture for you. Some they manufacture in small batches, and if it's selling well, they manufacture more. So this is the kind of ultra agility these days. I think we should elevate. Agility at the base level is no longer sufficient. We should elevate agility to the higher level. Can you, as a construction company, can you also be so agile? And to me, the agility must start with, number one, information system. You must have good information system to be able to tell you where the project is managing and where the suppliers, what kind of progress are you making, where the customers and the suppliers, are they on time, and so on. So first must be information, just like Shein. Shein is an information company, and so on, And second is that you have to have ability to generate design, new design. Even though you don't build it eventually, but you generate design to give people a picture of what could be like. And that is what I call the super agile supply chain for you. So I thought about, instead of me telling you, because I don't know construction, so I want to give you the question. What is fast agile construction? What is super fast agile construction? And what could be the ultra fast agile construction? So if we are putting together the whole room, how many of you say that I am a super agile company? How many of us would be a super fast agile? And how many would be the ultra fast fashion, right? So that would be a good, maybe the ultra fast nobody is here. But maybe a lot of you are here, so it's good. Because ultra fast is ability for us to first control cost and deliver in service, plus the idea of design, generate demand. I think generate demand is a very powerful concept. So how many of you become Superman? Okay, let's do that, try. So the second one now, second is that the new adaptation. The new adaptation is that we should adapt, and I call that adapt your supply chain based on personalities and based on technologies. So what do I mean by that? Is that we have suppliers. We have multiple suppliers. Or you have suppliers who manufacture in different locations. Some in Mexico, some in Germany. And so we can have all kinds of manufacturing. If you do your own manufacturing, you also can be in different places. Every one of them have a different personalities. So these days, since I'm involved with the administration, I know that Biden and Trump both trying to tell companies to say, leave China, leave China. So we don't want to be vulnerable to China. But most companies could not leave China. Because China has a very good manufacturing base. They are good, they're very good, So you cannot leave China, and you don't want to leave China. And the better way that these days business is that let's do China plus one. So China plus one means that I still want China because Chinese is such a good manufacturing base, but I want to have an alternative to support. So China plus one, what could that one be? Vietnam, Mexico, yeah, or Cambodia, India, so there could be one. I was in Hong Kong late last year, and many of my friends, business people in Hong Kong says that China plus one is not enough. We do China plus two. Well, China plus two is okay. And then another executive said, no, we do China plus three. Yeah. So one of my friend, Victor Fong, who is the Emeritus chairman of Li & Fong, says that we do China plus N. Well, it's good. I think China plus one is good, and China plus one in India is so it's good. But the key is that each of these resources, your suppliers, your manufacturing base, have different personalities. Don't treat them equal. Don't simply say, well, China plus one, let's give 50-50. 50 China, 50 Vietnam. No, it's which 50 do you give to China? Which 50 do you give to Vietnam? Yeah, so this is very important, yes. So, you know, Phil Knight has given a lot of money to Stanford, which is why the business school is called Knight Management Center. Phil Knight, yeah, has given money to us. So Nike is very important. But you know, when Nike first started, they were manufacturing in Japan originally. The original business model was to manufacture in Japan. But Japan is very expensive for manufacturing. Japan is good in manufacturing. It's excellent manufacturing space, but they're expensive. So Nike says that, look, we cannot just rely on Japan, it's too expensive. So let's look for a cheaper source, and they found Korea. So Korea was the second base. But Korea was not as skilled as Japan. So what Nike did is the most difficult shoe, the important shoes, sophisticated shoes, make in Japan. The easier mass merchants make in Korea. That worked. And then Korea became expensive. So when Korean became expensive, but they've learned training over time. They're as good as the Japanese now. So what Nike did is that, well, we don't need both Japan and Korea. Yeah, let's stop Japan. And they elevated Korea to make the sophisticated shoe. And they got Taiwan. So Taiwan this time can make the mass merchants cheaper. Taiwan is cheaper than Korea. But very quickly, Taiwan also became expensive. Okay, but they've been trained. So Nike promoted them to make sophisticated product. They stopped Korea, and then they went to China. China was the one that made low cost, while Taiwan makes the sophistication. But then Taiwan also became so expensive, and China is also becoming expensive, and China is also very good in manufacturing. They don't need China to build low-cost products. So now China is elevated to make sophisticated shoes. And who makes the cheaper shoes? Then Vietnam. But now, even Vietnam is not cheap. Everyone is going to Vietnam. So Vietnam is not cheap, but Vietnam is also very good in manufacturing. So now what Nike does is that Vietnam builds Air Jordan. Okay. China built Olympic shoes. And what about the mass merchant low cost? Indonesia. Yeah. And Nike is thinking about next is going to be India. So the simple point is that I think we need to have, this is China plus N, I told you, the China plus N executive, yeah. So we need to figure out that personalities of factories, of resources, of suppliers is very important. Some are type A. Type A is just like people. People have type A, type B, type C too, multiple types. So resources have type A, type B, type C, but I'm using two to illustrate. Type A could be more expensive, but good engineering support, more flexible, more responsive. And type B could be lower cost, cheaper, easier. So type B could be Bangladesh. Type A could be China. So China plus one, and you use the two differently. How do you use the two? There are 4 ways to use this, I think. One is for the stable volume, give it to type B. And the fluctuating volume, give it to type A, which is what Mexico is very good at, doing the type A for garments. Garments are made in Bangladesh and so on, but with a stable volume. The other one is products, like what Nike does. Nike says Olympic shoe, go to China. Air Jordan, give to Vietnam. And then the cheap shoes go to Indonesia. The third way is product introduction phase. When Microsoft introduced Xbox, they introduced Xbox initially in Guadalajara, Mexico, and also Budapest, Hungary, because they need good engineering support, good collaboration with the design team of Microsoft. And once the product becomes stable, mass production, they move to China. So it is definitely using Type A and Type B at different part of the product life cycle. And today, if you think about companies like HP, Hewlett-Packard making high-end printers, they make the printers in China, but they did not customize it. Customize it meaning what kind of paper trays and what type of languages and so on. They ship them to Budapest. Because that way, Budapest is close to the market for Western Europe. And Budapest is part of EU, so that the customs is avoiding customs. When you ship a semi-finished product from China to Hungary, the custom rate is much lower than a finished product. And then you customize it in Hungary, and Hungary is part of EU, so from Hungary moving to France and Germany, Spain, there is no customs. So this is the way by using phases, Type A and Type B by phases. So I think that this type of adaptation is necessary for us to think about these days. New kind of adaptation. Here is a company that also use technology to adapt. This is a company, they're owned by a Mexican company now, but they were based in Israel originally, doing drip irrigation. Massive projects, drip irrigation, laying out the pipes, using technology. So this company used technology to control how to irrigate. And drip means that you drip it to the root of the plant, and then use AI to analyze the soil conditions, the geography, the crop that you're growing, the temperature and the humidity of the season and so on, and use all this information to determine what is the optimal drip. So should we drip in the morning? Should we drip at night? How long should we drip? How much water should we drip? And usually with this kind of technological development type of irrigation system, you can quadruple the yield easily for farmers. And this is great for locations where water is scarce, because you are optimizing the use of water. You conserve water, you don't waste water. A lot of the customers are Napa Valley customers, vineyards. A lot of the vineyards use Netafim, and many of the Italian farmers, Australian farmers, New Zealand farmers are using them. Then this company wanted to expand. And they wanted to expand to countries where there are more farmers. Okay. And where are the farmers? Farmers are usually in developing countries. There are more farmers in developing countries. So the company went to developing countries like India, Egypt, and Afghanistan, and so on. And one of the countries they went to is Afghanistan. So Afghanistan has a lot of farmers, and their money coming from the World Bank to subsidize. So it could be a good market. The problem with going to, this is trying to scale, they could not do it directly. They need new business model. Because Afghanistan farmers are mostly illiterate. So they do not know how to read, they do not know how to write, they do not own a computer. So how can you tell them, look, this is the great system. Wow, you can use AI to optimize and determine how and the setting. Well, I don't even own a computer. Well, sorry, why don't you go to school first and come back 10 years later and I could sell you a system. No, this is not a way to sell. So you need a new business model. So originally, my friend, who is the CEO of Netafim, says that a way to go is to use brute force. A new business model would be we send technicians to Afghanistan and help the farmers in Afghanistan. So why don't we go and help them? And then they won't be real-time optimization, but at least maybe every month we go there. So this month you do this setting. Next month you do this setting. So I analyze how the weather would be different and what kind of crop you're growing and so on. So using brute force, right? Using brute force. So now you are sending technicians. So the first challenge is how many of their technicians were willing to go to Afghanistan? How many of you would be willing to go to Afghanistan? You would. You are adventurous. Adventurer. Yes, good. Okay. But you are the only one. Nobody raised their hands. Yeah, you are an outlier. Yeah. Yes. So going there is difficult. What this CEO was willing to do is to set up incentives to say, hey, I'll give you extra bonuses if you go to Afghanistan, and I'll fly you first class. First class to fly to Afghanistan. And then once you're in Afghanistan, you will have your own private car. Company would provide a company car to take you around. So you'll be well treated. Guess what? What kind of company car is there? This is the company car for you. This is the company car. Why is this a Netafim company car? Because the blanket said Netafim. You have to be sure, because once you get out of the airport, there are many company cars. You don't want to get on the wrong one. You take you different places. Well, the farms in Afghanistan are mostly not in the city. Most of the farms are far away from the cities, and there were no paved roads. And so the only way that you have to do is to use this kind of company car. And I was told that if you are a tourist, getting on this camel and take a picture is okay, go a few rounds. But if you have to ride on this camel for 4 hours to get to the farm, and then 4 hours back, you won't be able to walk for a while. So this is hardship. So this is not the way to go. What this company did is to have innovation to change the business model. And I thought that this is actually something that construction industry need to have. It's the innovation on top of innovation. Combined together can be more powerful. What they did is to add sensors. They add sensors to the pipes, and the sensors would sense temperature, humidity, and pressure, and then you use the information, and you don't need to send a technician. The information can be sent by wireless network to the this time the technician is in the air-conditioned room and control, optimize, analyze. The farmers did not have to lift a finger. You just cut out the farmers totally. You take control, you do it for the farmers. Not only that, they discovered that if I am able to do that, I do more than irrigation. I can help you to do fertilization. I can help you to manage the energy. So what this company has been able to do is really using this new service model, change the business model to enable them to successfully scale in developing countries. So that's adaptability, new kind of adaptability, using technologies and using personalities base. The final one is alignment. For alignment, I think we have to think about alignment, not just relationship with your supplier. That is important, but think about a bigger impact that you can do. As a construction company, can we have a bigger impact, not just with your supplier or your customers, but a bigger impact to the communities in general? This is a company, Cosmoplat, is a platform owned by Haier. Haier also owns GE Appliance, so it's a global company. They created this platform, and this platform put all the major industry companies together, including construction companies, industrial appliance company, agriculture, and so on. And this platform is like a country club. So you can join the country club, but then you say, well, what do I do when I join the country club? You can have club membership, and what this club provides you is that we provide you with tools for you to collaborate with each other. And you can collaborate developing new material, new design of the product, and so on. And the kind of tools that they provide is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So what is A? AI. B, blockchain. C is cloud computing. D is data. E, edge computing methodologies, and F, finance, and G is 5G. And when members come into this ecosystem, they collaborate. And when they collaborate, they can create new products faster. They can create new solutions faster. They can complete a project much faster. And that happened to when February 2020, when the first wave of COVID-19 hits China in Wuhan. The country is in a complete lockdown stage. And when China do lockdown, they meant business. Lockdown is real lockdown. Yeah, in the US, we lock down, we can still go out, and I can still have coffee and so on. But they lockdown is that you cannot leave your home. Under that situation, there is a need for mobile isolation ward. Why mobile? Because if an isolation ward, at that time when you have a COVID, they isolate you. Yeah, now, these days, we know how to treat COVID and say, if you have COVID, just stay home, or you can still come to the conference. Nobody tests and check. But in those days, when you have COVID, they isolate you at a hospital. And the isolation means that the doctors would wear bunny suits and the astronaut type and to come and treat you. But if you build an isolation ward in a hospital, it's not movable. It becomes a fixture. And if the disease travels, the disease moves around into a different county, you cannot move the hospital to the other county. You need to build more isolation ward in the other hospital. And they all ran out of capacity. Mobile isolation ward means that you build it in such a way that the connections, the plumbing and the water and everything is plugged in. You can move it using a container truck and then move it to the next county, plug it into the hospital, and they immediately have isolation. So this is powerful. But this did not exist. This product did not exist. And using this kind of Cosmoplat collaborative tool, internet-based, digitized collaboration tool, they were able to engage a construction company, an industrial appliance company, an air conditioning company, and a healthcare provider collaborate in 2 weeks, came up with the product. Now that is agility, but that also shows the positive impact that you can provide by using digital technologies. Once I heard a talk given by the CEO of Nestle, and he says that these days, what we need to do is to come up with, he called it shared value. Shared value means that companies need to be sustainable. Don't violate, comply with regulation. But the ultimate goal for Nestle is to create shared value so that not only our employees, not only our suppliers, but the suppliers' families, the communities are better off. So we want to make sure that there are good schools, good sanitized water and so on in where we operate. So that's what he calls shared value. And that is what I call the new smiley curve. As you know, I don't know whether construction industry has come across this smiley curve. Smiley curve is coined by Stan Shi, who is the CEO of Acer. And he says that usually when you look at the value chain, the people who make the most money are the people who innovate and design, and also the people who own the customer relationship and own the brand. And the people in the middle, the real manufacturing guys, earn much less. So you think about Apple. Apple, they did not manufacture themselves. They let Foxconn to manufacture, and the profit margin of Foxconn is 1 or 2%. Apple makes double-digit profits. They own design, they own customer, they own the product. Nike doesn't manufacture themselves. Nike factories are in Vietnam, are in Indonesia. Nike owns the brand, owns the customer, they own the design and innovation. So this is the smiley curve. The smiley curve doesn't mean that if you're in the middle, you're doomed. Yeah, you can still make a good living if you're good at it. So the way to change the smiley curve is to either expand to the right or left or lift up by being productive, by increasing your productivity so that you can earn more even in the middle. So that's the standard smiley curve. I have a new smiley curve. I think a smiley curve means that the new alignment means that we have to have a smile that says that reduce harm to the world initially, reducing harm on the left-hand side. But on the right-hand side, come up with something that would benefit the world better, creating value. So I thought of construction. Construction could be you use less of the materials that are harmful. You use less of the material that emit more carbon footprint. The positive side is that you design something that would improve the health of the people living in that building, or it improve the circulations and everything. So that's positive. Right? You're not just reducing harm. We're creating positive things. This is my smiley curve. I think the smiley curve means that we have to think more about creating positive values. So when we talk about Shein is a great company, very successful, ultra agile, but it is not sustainable. So that's the negative part of Shein. Shein is creating a lot of products, increasing the waste and the landfill and the treatment of people. People say, well, they treat workers like dirt. So this is not good. We have to figure out reduction. Yeah. And this company I work with is, as well, is a shirt manufacturer. They work on the smiley curve. They say we must reduce energy use, reduce water. That's reducing. That's the left-hand side of the smiley curve. And then they make sure that the people that work under them earn more without having to work harder, ideally without OT, overtime in the future. So that is the right-hand side of the smiley curve. So both left-hand side and the right-hand side of my sustainability is very important. So today, this company has come up with a new idea. This company says that most of the factories that you think about in China are mega city factories. You know, Foxconn making Apple iPhone, they used to have, the factory has 300,000 workers. When I visited them years ago, they have 300,000 workers, like a city. And now I think they're down to about 200, but still big. Mega city, but mega city factories has the negative. The negative is that it's crowdedness. Many of the workers are not from local. They were migrant workers, and you put 10 of them in a room, in a dorm room. They don't have any social life. They're terrible. So this is not the way to go. So what this company said is that because there are so many negatives of factory, let's completely change the model. Why don't we put something that would be positive? And so the company went to Guilin, China. How many of you have been to Guilin, China? Guilin, China, beautiful, right? It's a beautiful place. Yeah, Guilin. Guilin, the Chinese says that Guilin's scenery is better than heaven and earth. Exaggeration. Okay. So it's beautiful. You can take a picture and see the picture. It's beautiful. What this company said is that let's go to this place to build a factory. Now you'll say, wow, you're nuts here, going to here to build a factory, you're having smoke, having chemicals, having pollution. That would be very bad. And the local city would not allow you to do that. Turns out the local city was very receptive. Why? Because the local mayor says that we don't have enough employment. We don't have enough employment. Tourism is a half-year business because unless there is water, which is beautiful with the water, but half a year is dry. When there is dry, it doesn't look that good, so the tourists won't come. So if you think about, you go to Guilin, half a year you can fly there, half a year even the airlines don't try, no business. So half a year kind of employment is not enough for young people to feed their families. So many of them become migrant workers, which is bad for the families. Right? You separate the husband and wife. You separate the children with the parents. So the mayor says that, come and build factories, increase our employment, but don't pollute. The requirement is that you cannot pollute and destroy our kind of environment. So what this company did is that they went to Guilin and asked the government to give them a low-cost land, dirt. This used to be a brick factory. Look at it, terrible. And now it's converted into a beautiful resort. This is a factory. This is not a resort. Amazing. This is a factory. Wow, beautiful. And that's a new kind of factory. And then you can actually have retreat, and it's just gorgeous building. I have visited them more than one time. Last November, I went there again. So there are plantations, there are farmings, organic farms, so on. And this is bamboo-made buildings so as to preserve materials, etc. So this is a picture of the building, and you can see me standing there, beautiful flowers in the back. I want to show you that I've been there, even though you may think, wow, it's photoshopped, who knows? But anyway, I was there. I was there, and I was so impressed by this place. And this is a sunset picture. This company has won a lot of awards, architectural awards, for the fact that they are able to create such an environment. And the workers there are happy because they work in such a beautiful environment, unlike traditional factories. Traditional factories are, oh, you never see the sky. Yeah, here you are having even the coffee shop, even the restaurants is next to the lake. That type is environment. Positive impact. So I think that the new alignment is to think about what can be positive that we do, beyond just reducing the negative. So I summarized the final slide to say, traditional AAA, fast, sense and respond, adapt based on disruptions, building mutually beneficial relationship with your partners. New AAA is to think about agility as a way to generate demand. When you adapt based on technologies, based on personalities. And then for alignment, don't just align the interests of partners. Aligned with the community, aligned with the world. And the alignment requires us to reduce negatives and increase the positives. And I think construction companies has a great potential. You can be agile. I think we can be very agile. I remember having sitting on the PhD committees of Martin before, and the PhD students are using new technology information to track projects, to make sure the projects are on time, and knowing where suppliers are. So we're developing that. And the more we do that, the more agile we could be. But think about even possible in the demand side. But I heard that this morning you have a talk about design, which is a way for us to say, hey, using design to create agility as well. And then when we do adaptation, I think we all are faced with adaptation these days with the administration hitting with tariffs and regulations and so on. So we all have to face different ones. So we need to adapt, but adapt based on personalities and using technologies. And finally, the construction industry has great potential for you to reduce harm. I think we all are learning about sustainable materials, using ways to reduce emissions, etc. But also think about what can we do to design buildings that would have a positive impact to enhance health. Naturally, I thought of health of a person, but also enhancing the betterment, the welfare of the community in general. I think that's the great potential for us to be basically the new AAA companies. I hope that all of you will think about this and become AAA construction companies. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Hao. I think we saw some aspiration to becoming AAA, new AAA even companies. I mean, we also have still some challenges with the 20-year-old AAA, a little bit occasionally, but we saw some visions this morning towards, and some actions towards, I would say, new AAA company. So one thing that the term I use a lot is also just in case, just in time. And I think in the construction industry, we're very familiar with just in case. I think we mostly do just in case. Let's create a lot of information. We'll have something to do after that. Let's make bring the material to the site and to make sure we have something to do. Yes, we try to do just in time. Can you think, I mean, you mentioned you need to do a little bit both, and I think it also goes with sort of then the personality types of the supply chains, etc. Can you think of a specific example where somebody you feel like did just in time and maybe one or two just in case approaches well, if something comes to mind?
Well, I think most of the industry these days, like in semiconductor, it's very important to control cost and control yield. And to do that well, you focus. You have to focus, and therefore you focus. So the Taiwan factories are very good. They're high yield, and they are very tightly quality manufactured. But it's risky because Taiwan also, a few weeks ago, Taiwan has an earthquake. Yeah, actually, it's a smaller earthquake. So it's not just geopolitical, but simply natural disasters. And so having a single factory centralized gives you all the efficiency, just in time, perfect, lean. But in order for you to have just in case, you need to diversify a bit. So this is how many of these technology-based companies are trying to say, we need just in time and just in case at the same time.
Yeah, the smiley curve really resonated with me. That's really how we like to talk about sustainability. I find it painful when it gets reduced to do less environmental harm. Of course, it's a good thing to do. I'm not saying that's bad, but there's so much more to it, as you showed. But I think we can have maybe have a couple of questions from the audience if anybody has a question or comment. Or everybody ready for an afternoon coffee? Or, yeah.
That's right. In a few minutes, I would be like Cinderella. I would disappear. I would collapse. So my remaining energy to answer one or two questions. Okay. But it's great. I learned oftentimes, I was very fortunate because Martin and I know each other well. And so he would invite me to some of the PhD defense. And usually every defense, I learned something. I learned something about how the construction industry works and so on. Nowhere as an expert, but at least I know something, which is great.
Yeah. There's a question. Yeah. So please introduce yourself. I mean, I know you know how, but for everybody.
Hi, I'm Pooja Jain. I'm with WSP. Actually, the idea of information company really resonated with me, and that's because a lot of the construction project, one of Gartner's studies says that 75% of construction projects get delayed because of public sentiment. And it was really curious how you talked about information leading to design, but what can we do in our industry to leverage that information about public sentiment to be ahead in making sure our designs, our construction approaches, and how we approach those projects in the community are aligned so those delays don't happen.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about your comments on that. It just sparked a thought in my head.
Yeah, I think this is a very important question. Is that usually when we want to have an integrated information system, integration is not just your own company. So your own company needs to be integrated because there are multiple arms inside the company, multiple functions, divisions, and so on, and we need information to be integrated. But more importantly is the integration with your external partners. Because for a project to be successful, you need the external partner to be aligned, that you know exactly when things are coming and they're not coming, and so on. So it is crucial for us to design an information system that would somehow link the suppliers and even the customers together. So I remember the Boeing 787 has so excessive delay, and it's exactly because they lost track of the delay happening at the suppliers. And they were dependent on the suppliers because they have a new design, 787, and the design is a modular design, which is a very good idea, and then you plug the modules together. But if one of the modules is late, you cannot plug the plane. You cannot fly a plane with one module missing. And so that's crucial. I think that the important part is for us to have an integrated information system. And the information system doesn't have to be even beyond your immediate supplier. It could be the suppliers. That's what happened to the Boeing 787. The first delay was not because the suppliers were late, it's because of the fastener delay. So the fastener is very upstream. The company that built the fastener did not have enough, and you cannot build a plane without fastener. I don't think you can super glue it together. Yeah, it is not possible. So you need the visibility. The question then is, how can you set up the incentive so that the suppliers are willing to provide you with the information to be plugged in? Now that is a trickier question. How do you get that information to be plugged in? I learned that when the White House created, because a few years ago we have long delay in Los Angeles and also Long Beach port. So the White House developed a system to say, hey, we should have a complete information system so that all the port would provide the information so that we know which port is delayed, which port is congestion, for the shippers can divert. So, wow, Long Beach is delayed, why don't we go to Seattle? But that information system is so hard because the ports are competing with each other. The ports are worried about having information exposed that would look bad, right? If I show you my productivity is not as good as the other port. So this is very difficult. So we have to work out a way to tell people is that this information is used for what purpose, and it's not to penalize you or to make comparisons. And it's not easy though. But you have to also show them the positive side, the value. Hopefully everyone benefits. Everyone benefits, and therefore they would be more willing to share with you the key information. But it's a very good question that you have, yeah.
Yep, we'll take one more question, and then I think we'll go for a break.
Thank you very much. Very exciting. I was so inspired.
Please, did you introduce yourself?
Sorry, yes. I am Jinjing from Lawrence Berkeley National Lab. I work on climate and energy policies, not on construction side. I'm very inspired by this framework. I presume this framework applies really well to company strategies at the firm level. So, and you're also advisor to the White House. So I was just curious to what you think about if you apply this framework at the national level that is not necessarily focused on private, profitability. Would this be applicable in the context? Is there any additional considerations?
That is right, yeah. So it's definitely applicable. Yeah. Last few years, Department of Commerce has invested in a supply chain monitor, and we are able to now track the riskiness of minerals, or different kinds of minerals, where they come from, what kind of products are at risk. So this is at the national level. At the national level, we have visibility. So this is about information, visibility, and we use that information to provide to the companies. Because then the companies can react and say, hey, yeah, my minerals is all coming from China, and therefore it's at risk if China has changed their policies, and we would have a problem, that type. So national information, port is the example. So I think information is a good one. And the other way is, which I think is very difficult to do, is to use subsidy to incentivize certain industry development, which is what the White House did with the CHIP Act to invest in semiconductor, encourage companies to semiconductor. Yeah. But that one is tricky because subsidies, oftentimes you subsidize one company, the other company would complain. So when the White House decided to subsidize Intel and TSMC, many smaller companies said, those are big companies. Why are you rewarding the big company? They already have a lot of money. We should subsidize a smaller company. And the White House says a small company is much harder to make a difference. So let's subsidize the big one. But at least that's another national level possibilities. And you have to do it well. You have to do it at the right level, providing incentives to encourage certain development of the sector. That's crucial. So I would say that information and subsidies are the two very useful ways at the national level to do. Yeah. Sometimes we also reducing regulation is better. So I think that the Trump administration is embarking on that. This is a lot of the policies of the Trump administration I do not agree. But reducing regulation, I think, is possible to improve the efficiency of some of our processes. Yeah. So that's also at the national level.
Great. Thank you very much, Hao, for coming over, sharing your expertise.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you.